Broads Media.
Well, it's a wrap. No more Phillies baseball. It's probably the best for my mental health. I don't know how much longer I could even put up with it. There was a moment in time where the game was so brutal. Even though the Phillies were winning 1-0, but it was so draining that I was wondering if they did manage to escape this one without their 12 ERA bullpen getting shelled. Oh, that is a joke! That is fucking ridiculous! But what would I be like heading into Game 5 knowing that this team plays such a disgusting brand of baseball? It would have been, all right, here we go again. 4 hours of wanting to stick a knife in my eyes. Well, at least the baseball gods took those 4 hours away from me and just ended it a few days prior, which is probably best. Where do we begin? If you leave Bryce Harper on second base after a leadoff double in the 6th, shame on you. If you leave Nick Castellanos on third base because JT Realmuto doesn't know how to get a hit in 4 games, he did not have a hit in the Nlds. And he's flailing at 2-0 pitches with lazy pop-ups that don't move any runners. It's unacceptable. So if that's what you're getting, and Kyle's not doing a good enough job, Trey Turner is a waste. That contract is going to bite you in the ass for years to come. Let's be honest. If it wasn't for Bryson Stott, one of those flips for the double play balls when Ranger was working with traffic, that could have been a mess. It's a simple flip. This guy can't do anything easy. Simple plays in the field, he makes it 15 times more difficult than it needs to be. And don't even get me started on how much he sucks at the plate. What are you swinging at? Where is your discipline? 4 guys showed up to play in this series. Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Zach Wheeler, Ranger Suarez. Those 4 men came to play. Your 5 through 9 hitters couldn't do anything. Your leadoff hitter couldn't do anything. Think about this. We entered the postseason with a bye, being the second best team in the National League, with rightful aspirations to go win a World Series. I don't know who my center fielder is. I don't know who my left fielder is. We had to bench our third baseman, who was one of our biggest producers to knock in runs all season long. We had to sit his ass on the bench. And then when he did get a chance to play, he's swinging at first pitches. He's crying in the dugout because he's getting tagged at second base, even though he's the slowest runner ever to run ever. He did have a case for the 8th inning debacle of it being a fair ball that the Blue called foul. In a playoff game with that type of situation on the line, you would have had, now JT stinks, but you would have had the tying run come to the plate in the 8th inning of a playoff game with the Mets bullpen. Probably wouldn't have worked out. Okay? I'm saying that right from the top. It probably would have failed, but you can't rob us of that opportunity. We got the opportunity in the 9th when Edwin Diaz came in and couldn't find the strike zone, and we saw exactly how that finished. The 8th probably would have finished very similar to that. But I wanted to sit through the pain, so at least I know we got the chance. But anyway, your catcher is non-existent. Let's keep walking and talking through the mess. What else went wrong? Did I talk about our best offense being dribblers? I forget. If not, our best offense is dribblers to Vientos when guys are running around. And you're causing chaos with your legs, and it causes him to, I guess, bobble the ball. That's the best you got offensively. You're never going to win games when that's the case. And you know what makes this hurt the most? You lost to the Mets, man! You lost to a team that had Hawk Tua throw out a first pitch. You lost to a team that's got a purple damn monster jumping up and down. Their stars showed up. I'm watching Pete Alonso hit bombs the other way. Vientos became a star all of a sudden. Francisco Lindor hits a grand slam to knock out the Phillies. It's funny. The broadcast, the garbage broadcast, kept talking about how many more outs there are in this game. Shut up. Shut up. Do you know anything about this Phillies team? They can't do anything. They can't score. They can't put a rally together. Haven't you watched? I would have gave them more respect. Wayno in the booth. They're throwing nicknames out there. Wayno, what'd you think of this, Wayno? I would have appreciated it more if Wayno goes, yeah, you know what? Put this team in the coffin. Put it 6 feet under because they're dead. I would say, all right. Now I respect your craft. Instead, oh, look how much time there is. There's no time. Who's going to help you out there? Marsh? They tried everything. They tried Sosa. They tried Marsh. They tried Rojas. They tried, who else did they try? Weston Wilson, who actually hit the ball pretty damn hard. So I'm not knocking him. I thought we may. I can't believe I'm about to admit this. But I thought we may have had a Cody Clements moment. I thought a 3-run blast could have seriously happened. And then it didn't. Then it didn't. This team could not get leadoff hitters of innings on base. They never had traffic. They'd have a single here, a single there. They'd have a single, a strikeout, a ground out, a strikeout. They could never string things together. They didn't play like a team. And now we have to have some serious conversations because you can't run this thing back. And it needs to be a major shakeup. And you know what else they need to do? I'm not calling for Topper's job. I'm not in the mindset to do that right now, although I am very aggravated with how he managed that 6. That is one of the worst managed innings in the history of managing. To keep Jeff Hoffman in there when he's hitting Marte, when he's throwing balls into the dirt consistently behind JT Realmuto, you have to bring somebody else in there. And you set up Estevez to fail. That 6th inning, it falls on the shoulder of Hoffman. Hoffman was electric in the 5th. Remember, when Ranger Suarez left the game, there were people on. And here's the Phillies wiggling and waggling through all this crazy amount of base runners. It could have been the storyline that the Mets had so many chances, couldn't put the Phillies away, and gave them extra life to go back home in front of that ruckus crowd. Or eventually their time was coming. Knowing how this bullpen has been so inefficient, I figured it would have been the latter by the time it was all said and done. In the 6th, though, once it got out of hand, Topper, what are you doing? There's no way to justify it. There's nothing you could say that would make any sense. And I'm also aggravated with Estevez. I mean, your job, while very rough spot to come into, is to shut games out here, right? Put guys away. Grand slam. I mean, grand slam. But Strahm couldn't be used. Just walking through everything, the total package of issues with this team. Strahm, Alvarado, Kerkering. You want to go through the list of people who are getting beat up? And here's one thing that I keep getting hit with. Broads, you're not giving the Mets enough credit. The Phillies' bullpen ERA being over 12, the Mets aren't that good. They're not that good where the bullpen suffers over a 12 ERA. There's bigger problems here. And it's got to be more than just they're running out of gas. Because if you ever want to actually complete this thing, you have to make it through. So if running out of gas is the problem, you're going to run out of gas next year. You're going to run out of the gas the year after that. You're going to run out of gas. So what are you going to do to put yourself in a better position so you don't run out of gas? Because you're going to pitch very similar amount next year as you are this year if you're a relief pitcher. It's so deflating. But anyway, I was talking about the Topper thing. I'm not there yet to figure out exactly what I want to do big change-wise. I don't know. It needs to be a crazy shakeup. I expect Bohm to be in the mix for the crazy shakeup. It needs to be more than that. But what they have to do is they got to change their overall mentality and their overall approach. None of this, all you have to do is change your chase rate and change the way that you're swinging. It goes deeper than that. It's a way bigger problem than that because you tried that and you actually went one spot or you've been going farther in the playoffs. You've been one round less with you working on the chase rate. So you factoring in chase rate all off season long, all spring training long, got you to the NLDS to the Mets. It's a joke. By the way, if you're new to the channel, hello. Might as well plug it in here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button as well. You can take me on the road with you by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all your favorite podcasting platforms and searching Sports Talk with Broads. And if you leave a 5-star rating and a review, that will mean the absolute world. So I just want to make sure I plug that in there. But I saw this question getting asked around Twitter, and I think it's a fascinating one. I've seen a lot of different results, but I think the answer is pretty simple for me. What is the most painful playoff loss so far over the last 3 years? Was it 2022 and the World Series to the Houston Astros? Was it 2023 and the NLCS to the Arizona Diamondbacks? Or was it this season, 2024 against the Mets? And I don't want you just to be blinded by it being now, right? I don't want recency bias to play a role, even though it probably will. For me, it's pretty simple. 22, Houston was better. That's not number one for me. 23, how do you lose at home? Game 6 and 7 to that team. How do you look at game 4 and not want to punch yourself in the teeth? 23 hurts the most. 24 hurts the second most. 22 hurts the least because I just thought Houston was damn better. The Mets, they threw you around like you were a rag doll. I don't think the Mets are as better as the games dictated. Like, they beat you up. That's how much you no-showed. That's how much you didn't show up to compete. And that's brutal. Sometimes you can tip your cap and say, damn, that was a hell of a series. The Sixers-Knicks. Sixers-Knicks was round 1. And you know how much the Sixers have destroyed us as a fan base, not being able to get out of the second round. We got a second round matchup in the first round last year, and that was arguably one of the best series we've seen in the Joel Embiid era. And while it was horrible to swallow that, and another disgusting New York Mets team that beat you up, we at least respected their efforts. I know that doesn't mean much at the end of the day, but it does. You got to win, but it means something because the alternative is this. You laid over and died. Guys, they did nothing. They straight up got mollywopped. This thing wasn't even close. Game 2, that's it. Game 2, that's it. Their offense. You can't draw up worse at-bats. Don't know if you're just trying to play hero ball too much. Don't know if they just wanted to have the moment for themselves. They wanted to be the one in the newspapers. They want to be the one on SportsCenter Top 10. I don't know. But for them to swing at some of the trash that they were swinging at for 4 games straight without any adjustments, shame on you. That's top to bottom. And yo, Dave, once again, Austin Hayes sucks. Estevez was a disaster. Estevez didn't do anything good in the playoffs. He was getting hit. So Estevez, no bueno. Austin Hayes, no bueno. Tanner Banks, no bueno. Your deadline was a massive failure. A massive failure. Not just bad, not just underwhelming. A legitimate, massive failure. Dave Dombrowski has now done that in multiple different years. Who was it before? Was it Castro? It's so not noteworthy that I don't even remember his damn name. That can't happen. If you are in a position to make a serious push and you half-ass the deadline, no wonder why the team reflected that. There was one guy that was obvious. His name's Brent Rooker. Go look at how he finished the year with the A's. Go look at what you lacked this playoff run. I'd argue those right-handed bats behind Bryce and behind Nick, boom, JT, brutal, flatlined. That would have replaced Bohm's unfortunate fall and unfortunate collapse. Would that have been the difference? Don't know. But I do know there's a sense of urgency that happens when the president of baseball ops makes a decision and the team feeds off that. You know what he said? I remember. He said it's on you guys. Go ahead, it's on you. And while there's truth to that, you would still need all of them to deliver. There's a job for the president, too. President failed, manager failed, players failed. This is a collective effort. You won the division. You were NL East champions. Here's another issue that could have potentially happened. They really wanted that strong start, right? Cincinnati and Atlanta to start the year. Didn't go well. After that, boom, shot out of a cannon and was one of the best teams in all of baseball. Did that correlate to, I don't know if it's complacency, because they were complacent. Oh, trust me. How many times did they punt those games? And Rob punted the games with the lack of urgency because they had the playoffs in mind. We have to be ready and have our guys right for the playoffs. Well, what the hell did that get you? Because I saw fucking vomit. So you can't take the same approach. I don't want to hear it. Game 63, game 85, game 101, game 112. That it's not about today, it's about later. Because that dumb attitude, once they started to, run out of the fuel with all the winning and they came back to reality a little bit because there's natural peaks and valleys in a long season, they got complacent. Because of their lead, because the Braves were getting banged up, the Mets started to creep, but you had such big separation due to how strong you started and due to how bad the Mets started the year that it looked as if the division was such a runaway that you were good. You were just waiting for October. There's no more waiting for October. That's where it goes back to the mentality has to change from top to bottom. Because I do think it reflected the way that they handled things in August and in July a little bit when things were running its course. They're like, don't worry about it. Well, you should. You should worry about it. You should worry about it. And that falls on Rob. And it falls on Dave a little bit too. Dave's got that laissez-faire attitude sometimes. And while I think Dave is a very smart baseball mind, I'm underwhelmed in a couple different areas. He is a smart baseball mind. That's why I'm holding him accountable. That's why I'm getting angry. That's why he pisses me off, because I know he's too smart. You can't tell me Rojas. You can't tell me Austin Hayes. You can't tell me some of these guys. I'm trying to win a championship. And I don't think Rojas did anything necessarily wrong. There were actually times, believe it or not, and this is a disgrace to the rest of the team, where I thought his at-bats were better than everybody else's. Tells you how bad everybody else's were. But I'm trying to win a championship. I don't know if Brandon Marsh is good enough. Hell, I don't even know offensively what's in Stott. I'm willing to keep riding this thing out. He does seem to have some pretty big moments for you, and his glove is spectacular. I'm trying to get Trey Turner out of shortstop, though. You can't win with him playing shortstop. You can't win with that. That's not good enough. Absolutely not. He makes simple, fundamental plays so difficult on a night-to-night basis. It's crazy. All right, I want to get to some calls here. I could probably go on forever. Before we do, my friends at Garage Beer, no bitterness, beer that tastes like beer, definitely not an IPA. It's a 0% IPA, 100% light beer, and 1,000% quality. Make sure you get yourself a fantastic Garage Beer today. All right, let's take some calls, shall we?
Well, bros, are we really surprised? Are we really sitting there with our jaws dropped because the Phillies blew it in the NLDS this year after the horrible baseball played in the second half, after being mediocre on the road after London and being mediocre against the division all year? Are we shocked that the team that cannot develop a lick of hitting development is in the playoffs? Are we struggling? Are we
your phone's struggling?
General manager not making
that no.
guys to go to when stars aren't performing?
I don't know if I could do it. I don't know. That phone call, unfortunately, summarizes this Phillies baseball season. I'm sorry to have to zap you like that. Let's take the next call.
You make a team that's supposed to be beneficial with hitting. It's supposed to be superb, a juggernaut. And you lose to the Mets because you can't hit when you have runners in scoring position almost every fucking inning.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's got to go. This roster has to look different. That lineup has to look different. I don't know what Dave's going to do. I don't know what the Phillies are going to do, but Bryce Harper isn't going to last forever, and neither is this playoff window. I'd say they got two at best 3 years before the window is slammed right the fuck shut on them. They deserved this. I'm not gonna lie, they deserved this. A lot heads are gonna roll, and they need to roll. See you next season, bro.
1,000%. Heads should roll, and they will roll, no doubt. It's crazy because I never thought that I'd be sitting here after a postseason run that went so wrong and went so south saying I'm good with Nick. I mean, seriously, he does have his moments that make me want to really, never watch baseball again. But he had that awesome play out in right field. He made a couple of spectacular plays out in right field. One at the wall, one coming in and sliding like we pretty much have his standard catch now, as we call it in the playoffs. But him and Bryce were awesome. It comes down to what do you do with Trey? What do you do with Bohm? What do you do with JT? I keep hearing this excuse that, well, JT had that injury and then they got it fixed mid-season so he could be ready for the playoffs, but he's probably not right. Well, this guy's only getting up there every year. This guy eats so many innings behind the plate. Guess what? There is not a lot of fuel left in that tank. He looks beat. And guess what? He probably is. But he's not getting any younger. What type of cat is going to last that long behind the plate as one of the best catchers? Sure, maybe he could throw a guy out at second. But guess what? Trey can't catch the ball at second base. He can't put leather to ball and apply a damn tag. So if he can't apply the tag, what's the point of even having the guy who's got a beautiful pop time behind the dish? So as we look ahead here, how much faith and how much stock can I put into JT Realmuto finding a JT Realmuto from years ago? He's a 0 offensively. And if it is due to injury, how am I supposed to expect him, with the nature of the position, to be able to last an entire another regular season and be good to go and be in shape and be polished for another postseason run? Speaking of major change, the amount of Phillies fans in my mentions right now bringing up Aiden Miller and bringing up Justin Crawford, and these are the type of names that they want to see, so there's some excitement next year. I hate to break it to you. Bryce Harper isn't getting any younger. When Bryce Harper's here in this state, all right, the nature of where he's at in his career, there's no punting anymore. There's no steps back. I'm trying to win a championship. Aiden Miller, Crawford, we're running through the same problems now. Johan Rojas was an experiment. The experiments, guys at the bottom of the order, right? That doesn't fly. It doesn't fly. Now, if you want to say, I don't care if we win, and we'll just have fun, so it's not a Sixer season where we hate them, and there's so much disappointment involved, because all you have to worry about is the postseason. You can't worry about regular season games anymore. We are definitely hitting that territory with this baseball team. But if that's what you want the motto to be next season, then fine. Aiden Miller, Crawford, all these young cats make sense. But guess what? That doesn't make sense with where the current state of the franchise is. So, I don't want to hear about Aiden Millers and Crawfords. I need real, legitimate names, because it's time to go with where Bryce is right now. You bring in Zach, or Zach was always here, but you sign him to the extension. You bring back Aaron Nola. There's a goal here. So there needs to be a major change-up with the idea of still trying to win. I got to give a lot of credit to Ranger, though, man. That curveball was dancing, and he had guys fooled. And the way he worked out of some trouble was just magnificent. All right, take another call.
Hey, Broads. This is just embarrassing. We could talk about how last year, Topper was being, reluctant to do any changes to try and shake things up. This time he does those things, and there's just no execution. And I think that is the telling tale of this Phillies team, is that they were unable to execute when it mattered most, specifically the bullpen, when you have dudes having ERAs as high as they were. And we had an expectation that, hey, maybe if they just go out and execute, they can take care of business. And clearly that's what caused them to lose this series. And I know we've talked about it before on the channel where you said it at, hey, you need to have as many opportunities in the playoffs by consistently getting in there, and you maybe can break through, but you basically just experienced what the Braves went through 2 years ago. And this just sucks. So, I don't know. I'm just trying to see what they can do other than they have to execute better and, do better acquisitions at the deadline. But I think I've rambled on long enough. Thanks.
Well, I don't know if the team was as good as we thought they were, right? Because if Trey's not that good, if JT's not that good, if the Marsh, Austin Hayes thing isn't that good, the Rojas isn't good, the Sosas aren't good, the Stott is still up for debate. I'm really willing to still take a flyer on him and to work with him and all, because I do think he's got an amazing glove. I think he's got a good approach. For a team that struggles with the approach, he's one that I think does have a good sense and a good understanding on how to attack the strike zone and whatnot. So I do like Bryson Stott from a bird's eye view. I think he's still got a lot to work on, but I like him. But I don't think the team is as good. It's Kyle, who I like Kyle, but he didn't show up for us. It's Kyle, Bryce, and Nick, and those are the three that I feel comfortable with. Kyle's streaky, but I think his postseason success, his sustained success, his clubhouse presence, where he goes, teams win. I think that it's a staple. Zach Wheeler, I like. Nola was a little for me in that playoff start, although I do think a lot of this stems from the frustration with the offense more than anything else. But I was looking at Alec Boehm speaking after the game, and Boehm says, it is what it is. It's a hard game. Then he started talking about his hand. Not going to make excuses. He doesn't know what it was. He doesn't think it was the reason. It is what it is. You know who says it is what it is? Ben Simmons. You know who reminded me of Ben Simmons today? Alec Boehm. Boehm says, I think it gets noticed because when I swing at the first pitch, I put it in play. I'm an aggressive hitter. I'm not going to change who I am. If they throw it over the plate, I'm ready to hit it. Your approach sucked. I think your approach sucked. I think you should look into that. Guys knew how to get to you. They threw pitches where you would swing. And they got you pretty much all the time. And when they didn't get you, you got thrown out at second. Let's reconsider, shall we? All right, whatever. Phillies season's over. We'll talk about it over the next little bit here. Hey, we have an Eagles game too. Should be fun. All right, appreciate you guys. Talk to you on the next one.